This is in continuation to the Zygomycota. So we'll see the comparative differences in Zygomycota if there is any leftover points, and the points, what are all the things that we need to take into consideration when it comes to not only NET exam but also various kinds of entrance exams, or maybe course curricular related exams and all those things. Now we'll see in this lecture. I'm Anand Shankar Reddy, PhD plant pathology. So first one, we'll see the differences between Rhizophus and Mucor. I think probably in lecture number 35, I think so. So we have seen different kinds of different genera, what are all the different kinds of things and general properties are related to this Rhizophus and Mucor. Now we will see the comparative differences and other points. So this Rhizophus, generally called as a bread mold fungi because it grows more on bread, infects more on bread, and it is called as a pin mold fungi, Mucor. Generally, it is commonly grown on bread. That's why it's called as bread mold fungi. This mucor commonly can be absorbed on dung and other kinds of related materials. That's why it's called as a pin mold fungi. When it comes to mycelium, in general characters of fungi, we might have discussed this. Mycelium is differentiated into various other things. So in order to get the special functions or special requirements to be done. So here, when in the case of Rhizophus, the mycelia is differentiated into three kinds. The first one is the stolons, second one is the rhizoids, and third one is the sporangiopores. Very important. Rhizoids. Just take a look on the left side picture. The rhizoids. These are all some kind of root-like structures that was present on the base. It is simply like a roots to the plant. So these are all rhizoids. So there is another tube-like structure which connects two rhizoids, generally called as stolons. This is stolons. Again, from these rhizoids, there are some kind of pole-like structures which grows, right? So these are all called sporangiopores. Here, all those are raised from mycelium only. The mycelium is raised into this rhizoids. From this rhizoids only, again this sporangiopore. From the sporangiopore above, there is a sac-like structure. Again, the sporangiopores are produced there. All those things will happen, right? So here the mycelium is differentiated into three kinds. Those are rhizoids, stolons, and sporangiopore. Here rhizoids, anchoring organ or nutrient absorbing organ, stolons connecting organ, sporangiopores their stalk like structure or pole like structure which arise from this nodes of the rhizoids. So those all are present in Rhizophus. So when it comes to mucor, all these three kinds are absent here. So only one kind of hyphae, that is not differentiated into rhizoids and stolons, but only one kind of hyphae is present. There is no differentiation of rhizoids and stolons, and all those things are present in mucor. And the next point is hyphae and holdfast. So absorptive hyphae and holdfast are present. When it comes to absorptive hyphae and holdfast are not specialized well in the case of mucor. Just take a look at this. So this is a rhizophus. So this root-like structure is there, right? So these are all rhizoids. Of course, here also root-like structure are there. This is not rhizoids. It is not well specialized as we discussed here, right? So holdfast is absent and it's not well specialized. There is no special kinds of special deviations or arrangements or like rhizoids and stolons or all those things are absent in mucor, but all are present in rhizophus. Rhiza and stolons is present in rhizophus, but it absent in mucor. Coming to the nutritional types, so here the nutrition absorbed, as I told you, rhizoids are actually anchoring organ and also the nutrient absorbing organ. So for absorbing the nutrients, so they use this rhizoids in the case of rhizophus. So this rhizoids act as a nutrient absorbing site. Here there is no specialization in the case of mucor. So the mucor take the used to take the nutrition by means of mycelial surface. Simply will just some kind of absorptive type of nutrition through mycelial surface. But in the case of rhizophus, they have well specialized rhizoids which are helpful for absorption of nutrients. Next one is the sporangiopores. What is sporangiopore? These are all stalk-like structure. Very simple difference here. In the case of rhizophus, the sporangiopores are unbranched. Take a look at this. They are not branched. They are unbranched, and they were simply like groups, but they are developed above the nodes. Take a look at this. Here it is a node just above the rhizoidal mycelium. So just above the nodes, from the nodes, the clusters are unbranched stalk-like structures arised from the junction of these rhizoids, that is rhizophus. When it comes to mucor, they were clearly branched. They were highly branched and may develop from any point. But in the case of rhizophus, they were unbranched and maybe sometimes clusters just arise from the junction of the rhizoids or maybe stolons. And when it comes to mucar, they were highly branched and they developed from the any point. And when it comes to gametangia are equal or may not be equal in terms of rhizophus. But when it comes to mucar, gametangia is equal in size. And spore dissemination in lecture number 35 itself we have discussed. Here in rhizophus, the spores are loosely attached to the columella so that spores can easily detach and spread or blown away by the wind so that it can cause air and laboratory contamination. But in the case of mucar, where the spores are not easily disseminated, that remains attached to the columella very firmly or strongly so that it cannot cause any laboratory and air contamination. So that is the thing I want to disclose here. And when it comes to the columella is in most species more or less dome shaped or umbrella shaped structure will be present in rhizophus. When it comes to mucar, so columella does not change even after the dehiscence of spores from the sporangia. So, but in case of rhizophus, after dehiscence of spores, columella's shape or size maybe varies, but in the case of mucar, it doesn't happen. When it comes to the meiosis, occurs during the germination of zygospore, but when it comes to rhizophus, meiosis occurs during the germination of zygospore. But in the case of mucar, meiosis probably before zygospore formation only, during the resting period will happen. Best example for rhizophus is Rhizophus stolonifer. When it comes to mucar mucidae. Some common other important points like Zygomycota cell is made up of chitosan chitin. The anchoring organ of Zygomycota fungi is rhizoids. Rhizoids are can also called as holdfast, which is actually helpful for not only anchoring but also absorbing the nutrients. So the intervening hyphae that connecting between the two rhizoids, so one rhizoids or another rhizoids are connected by a connecting organ called stolons, which are present in rhizophus, absent in mucar, right? So Zygomycota producing sexual spore is known as zygospore. Asexual spore is known as sporangiospore. We can also call it as aplanospore. And the color of zygospore generally brown in color, sometimes maybe black or brown to black in color. Generally we can call it as thick colors or dark colors. Anchoring organ of Zygomycota fungi. Rhizoids are the generally anchoring organ. So the connecting organ of Zygomycota fungi, stolons. Stolons are generally connecting organ, right? So under the 10th dictionary of fungi, how many number of species are there in Zygomycota family? So it is estimated that according to the 10th classification, that is a cricketal classification, 1065 fungi were there are classified under the Zygomycota family. Next one is pin mold fungi or sugar mold fungi belonging to the order Mucorales. Okay, Zygomycota is generally heterothallic and homothallic species also there, and we guys know very well. And the phenomena of heterothallism was first reported by A.F. Blacksley in 1904 in a fungi called Mucor mucido, and in later days it was also observed in Rhizophus. Homothallic species of Rhizophus. Generally, majority of the Zygomycota are heterothallic, and few homothallic are also there. And one of the species is Rhizophus sexualis, which is a homothallic fungi. So what are all the hormones responsible for the sexual reproduction in rhizophus? And it is a very important one, trisporic acid and beta enzyme, mostly trisporic acid. Rhizophus produces trisporic acid B and C. Mucar produces trisporic acid A. What is this columella? We have already discussed, I think so, earlier. This is generally, just imagine this is a sporangiopore. This is sporangia. Inside there will be a small gap, or we can say dome shaped structure, which is present inside the sporangium, that is called columella. So next one is sporangiole. So columellate sporangia with a few sporangiospore. So if the sporangia is having a having columella along with few spores, so this columellate sporangia with the sporangiospores is known as sporangiole. Merosporangia, which means if the sporangium is spores are produced cylindrically like this. So if the spores are produced cylindrically on the sporangium, this is called merosporangium. So pin molds are generally belonging to the kingdom Mucorales only. If you just take a look at the lecture number 35, you will get a better idea about this. For further details and information, students may refer this book, A Vision into Plant Pathology, a complete student version. For further details, guidance, student may reach us at www.geekyresearcher.com. Stay geeky and stay tuned. We are Team Geeky Researchers.